driving past her house when her little girl was outside. You know how disgusting that is? There's a lot of demonic people online. And after I saw what they did to, Alexis K, when they gave her information, I mean, she's a woman. Like, why would you do that? Like, do you not understand that if someone gets murdered and you've given that information, you are going to be karmically indebted to that? So I won't give my information of where I live. It's nobody's business. The fact that you have women working consciously to trying to find out where I live, it just says there's a reason why those people have been removed from my life. Okay, that's it. So usually where I'm at. Like, especially when I leave the country, I don't mind sharing that with you, because when I'm out of the country, you is gratefully you won't be able to come to me. But usually when I'm in the States, I've relocated. I'm out of Florida, as you see, so I'm not there anymore. Okay, okay, and I think the question is. Why do you always cape for Haitians? If someone asks why I cape for Haitians, let me say this. The Haitian nationality and the culture and the people are my superheroes. Let me say this again. Haitians are my superheroes. Coming from a French Caribbean background, if many of you know about the Haitians and the win and what they've done to really fight against the system of colonization and how they were able to free South American countries like Colombia, Venezuela, Ecuador, and also the United States, they are my superheroes. So I love the Haitian culture. You will always see me revere them because in my eyes, they are what I attribute as heroes. Okay, so, for people who ask that question, it's like, why would that bother you? Like, if you don't know about who they are, where they come from, how amazing they were able to overcome, and they were the only Caribbean island that overcame these demons. And they won, and they're being really vilified, and they're being, really attacked because of how amazing a win. And for those who don't know, also Haiti, their flag colors, Venezuela, I think Colombia, no, Venezuela, is it Colombia too? Venezuela, Ecuador, I think it's Colombia too. Their flags take on their colors of the Haitian flag because of how they helped them to overcome the Spanish when they came there. So if you ever ask me that question again, I'm not Haitian, but I have, as a French, coming from a French background, especially from the Caribbean, because we're considered to be Latinos. As a Latino, because Latino means we speak a Latin language. As a Latino from the Caribbean, someone kept correcting me and saying, you are Latino. We are Latinos. We aren't Hispanic who speak French, but we're Latinos. We support others who revered and upheld to the standard of victory when it came against these devils. Okay, so they are my superheroes. If you ever hear me talk about Haitians, I love that culture. I love what they've done. I really hold them at a high esteem. So that's why you hear me talk about them all the time. Okay. All right. So let's get to the conversation. So you guys ready to hear about the wheat? There's a couple other questions people ask me, but those are like the ones that, they keep asking me those same questions over and over again. So I just want to kind of do a Q&A. So let's get into the conversation. I'll wait until we get to 500. We're going to talk about weaponized wheat. So let me take a sip for the haters. I'm not drinking Starbucks anymore, haters. And let me just say this. If you don't like me, which obviously you do, because if you are subscribed to me and you keep coming here and listening to me, apparently you sweat at me. So stop hating and appreciate and just participate. Because I'm not coming to you, you're coming to me. So stop it already. I wouldn't be subscribed or keep coming to someone's channel if I dislike them. That means I like them. And if you don't want to be my enemy, then just stay and chill out. I'm not coming for any of you. I have a life. Okay, so let's get into the weaponized wheat. All right, so wait until we get to 500, because I was doing a Q&A, so it didn't get up to 500, please. I'll wait until we get into 500. I know Divine and Hazel, but you know what, sometimes I like to respond because I'm a little messy. And I could be a little, what do you call it, petty. I'm a little petty sometimes. You know what I realize, like, as I get a little more seasoned, being petty is more fun. Because I'm always, like, in a righteous, as a parent, you're always in that righteous mode. Sometimes I want to be a little petty and play with y'all. So, taking a sip for the haters, because they come over here and they get mad. Like, they see me and they like me. They think I look a certain way. They hate on me, but they really like me. Because I wouldn't be at this channel if I dislike me. People who come here is because they do like me. Okay. Okay, so let's get it. Greetings from Paraguay. What's good? Hey, Marino. Making all kinds of deals here. We're trying. Oh, you know what? Search Moreno. You're absolutely correct. China's been making deals. The Xinhua have been making deals all over South America. It's really quite sad. They're trying to take over all the food because they're going to be using that. And we're going to talk about the wheat and what's happening with the food because of what's going on with them taking over all of the food sources. Many of you know I've talked about a while ago how, and this was Kiki. I want to give a big up to Kiki Mancy. If you don't know Kiki, I love Kiki Mancy. She's so saucy. She's over in Southeast Asia now. I think she's still in Bali. So big up to Kiki. She was the one who actually let me know this. Some of you were part of me a while ago, you remember Aquarius Rising. I had Kiki come on, and she revealed to us that Xinhua had bought up a lot of the food companies, like it's not Purdue, it's another chicken. I'm sorry, y'all. I always forget to mention which chicken company it is. I forgot. It's not Purdue. It might be Purdue now. Anyway, it's a chicken company, and then there was the pork company, Tyson. Thank you, y'all. Thank you, Tyson. And then the other one was the pork company. It's so sad when I don't remember. We did a show on this, but anyway, Kiki was the first person who literally alerted us to that, and you could fact check it. You can fact check a couple of the resources. Smithfield, y'all remember, I love you because you are young and your minds are fresh and clear. Big up to all the C stars in here who come in with the information. Thank you, y'all. Smithfield. So remember at the time we were talking about, and this is years ago. So Kiki came on. God, Kiki, where's Kiki Mancy? I wish she was here right now. This was like what, 5-6 years ago? She told us that, hey, Elle Summers, I miss you. Now, do you have an album? I want you to do some music for the thing. I want to. Elle Summers is like our hip hop. He does great music and really enlightening. I haven't talked to you for a while. Anyway, Kiki was talking about how the Xinhua had taken over a lot of the companies. Now, from then, I want you to really go into how many companies that the Xinhua have purchased. And why is that an issue? Is because you got to realize whenever you have a country that is literally a country that has weaponized food, makes a lot of fake food, meaning this is the same country where it makes fake rice with plastic, fake lettuce. They've been basically they eat everything over there, rats, dogs, cats, in certain parts of places where they're really starving. There are places that even actually eat newborns, like babies that are sold. And I'm not making this up. You can actually look into this. Whenever you have a entire society who's been under communism to the extreme, where there's a lack of spirituality, then you have a lack of morals and ethics attached to how they engage with animals, people, and places and things. And if you listen, that whole mass destruction, you do realize the people who are wearing masks before this whole cucarachis infiltration, you could go over to Asia, over in China, and that's where all the people wearing masks, because their air was so toxic and so unhealthy that people walked around with that. And then there was a multitude of all kinds of viruses, inhalation issues, because of how many things they were exposed to, from being unethical eating wise, non-sanitary ways of engaging, and also just not having a moral compass when it comes to spiritual engagement with people, places, and things. And I want to say this, I don't personally, and like I tell you, When I talk about a governmental system, I'm not talking specifically about the people. I'm talking about a lot of times what happens when you get people that are highly suppressed, under heightened amount of mind control programming, they tend to start to mimic the pattern of whatever the government wants them, like robotoids. Okay, that is one of the places that's like that. And you do know that the Chinois are all over. I told you, we talked about this last time. They literally have taken over a lot of the United Fakes. They bought up a lot of the United Fakes. I personally think they own California and New York, and there's probably other states that we don't even know about. I also talked about my girlfriend years ago working for Dolce Bank, and this was like 2000, and because I was married at the time, so 2000 or 1999, because she was working for Dolce Bank. Big up to Jenny. Sepulveda. That's one of my best girlfriends. Jenny was working for Dolce Bank at the time, and she was the one we had a home up in the Poconos. Big up to our family in Pennsylvania. So we had a home in the Poconos, and I remember her telling me at the time when we first purchased our home, she said, you do know that the Chinese are buying up all that area? I was like, why? She was like, the company had told her, and she had seen that they were bringing in Chinois in droves, and they were coming in unmarked planes, like cargo planes, and they were basically dropping them off into a lot of places, and they were purchasing a lot of property in Pennsylvania, in the Poconos at the time. So remember, you guys in the Poconos, I know, Teresa, you're in the Poconos. So Teresa knows. So, you know, they have the casino, many of you know, who are from New York. Big up to all the New Yorkers and the Jerseyites. Many of you know that we talk about, you guys are more aware of what happens in like Pennsylvania, the Poconos, Connecticut, because usually New Yorkers, that for the Northeast people, that's not something you may know, but people from Connecticut, Jersey, Pennsylvania, and New York have a very close connection to everything. You know what I mean? So they kind of know they're connected to all that. China owns roughly 384 acres of U.S. agricultural land. 2021 report. Thank you, Crystal. Crystal Goddess brought the facts. Okay. So in the Poconos, they were buying up a lot of land. So she made me aware at the time that there was this unknown connection to a lot, like an underhanded connection to our U.S. government allowing these entities in the country unmarked. You're talking about all the illegal immigrants now. You didn't talk about them before. That was in 1999. And when they were purchasing all of the properties. Also, do know in the Caribbean, big up to my Jamaican family. Now, for many of you know, I have a close connection to Jamaica. So Jamaica had all their ports purchased by the Chinese. And, you know, there's been a large amount of Chinese Chinois moving into Jamaica. Look, there's a Chinese, a lot of mixed people who are mixed with a lot of Chinese. You know, I have family who are married to like Chinese Jamaicans, so that's why I know a lot about it. There's like a town where they're actually beautiful people. Like there's a fusion of like Jamaicans that are mixed with Chinese, probably the most unique genetic disposition. They're beautiful people. And let me say this, Chinese Jamaicans are just as much Jamaicans as anyone else. So let me say this, these are people who generationally lived there and mixed with the locals. So they're just Jamaicans. So, you know, when you hear them speak patois, sometimes it bugs you out because you're seeing like a Chinaman speak patois, but they've been living there for a long time. So I'm not talking about them, but I'm talking about the CCP who made sure that they used those first initial forms of colonization to kind of allow that to give them a foot in so that they could purchase a lot more properties, and they ended up buying a lot of the ports in Jamaica. And it's not just Jamaica. There's other Caribbean islands that they've done the same. Any of the Caribbean islands who you guys, I don't know all of them, so if you have the information, can you kind of put it in here if you have any information based on it. Queen Ottawa says Arkansas governor denied Chinese purchase of farmland here. And good for your governor for even caring enough about his people and his land. Okay. So I'm just saying they have really purchased and they've kind of cornered the entire world without people really denoting it and having a reaction to it. So now when I'm talking about the weaponized wheat, you have to understand, if you have a foreigners purchasing large amounts of farmland that's being used for the food distribution, like your breads, your crackers, your pretzels, your all of the wheat, like, when you do like the your flours, your baking flours, those are all being infiltrated because you have a hostile group that have weaponized the food, and they are distributing it, and your government has now been taken over by foreign interests that they aren't even doing anything for it. And also the water, and we're talked about the radiation water that has now been riddled throughout all of the country unchecked. Now, how do I know this? Is because we kind of vetted this out a while ago, where, hold on now. We vetted this out a while ago where I think my mom, I gotta think, y'all, because I'm not as young anymore. My mom was getting like symptoms of celiacs, like maybe in the 90s, right? It could have been the late 80s, but really in the 90s, where her system, now mind you, my mom's been in the States a long time, and she was having really bad reactions to like crackers, things. And any of you have moms and grandmas, that like they've been eating the same thing. Generally, the elders eat generally the same thing. They're very repetitious and very mono thinking when it comes to food, because they eat what they've always eaten. My mom started to have reactions to like I think it was in the late 80s, maybe the 90s, right? And she had really bad reactions to it. But, again, she felt like she was getting older. She felt like, her system was really just being reactive. But as I became much more self-aware, me personally, and I've been about this life for a long time. Many of you know, I had my own farm in Pennsylvania. I've always grown my own food. I've been really big into the agricultural naturopathic for a long time. From a little girl, really, in my early teens, like I was really big into holistic living. And when I got into my early 20s is when I realized there was a relationship between the wheat that was being homogenized and hybrid, and the pesticides they were using on it, that was causing this reaction from the elders, who started to have a lot of health issues regarding the food that they always ate. So we fast forward now, and I realized, oh my God, it's not only that they were homogenizing and hybriding the wheat sources, it was that it wasn't only the pesticides that they were using that were being weaponized, that were causing people a lot of health issues, a lot of the weird cancers that you see that people have. I personally think, this is my opinion, that it's connected to all of the food being weaponized with these specific bioweapons. And needless to say, as we know now, that you're selling a lot of these agricultural land masses to foreign people who want less Americans, so that it will be easier for them to do a takeover. So let's fast forward a little bit. Now that we know that, because my mom had that reaction like in the 80s, late 80s, maybe early 90s, I realized the homogenizing of wheat was causing a lot of problems. And then later on with the pesticides, we knew about the pesticides, the Roundup, all that good stuff. Now, come to find out, I want to be careful, because, as you know, Willy Wonka and his League of Doom like to watch this channel like White on Rice. And YouTube, let me give a big up to YouTube for being my biggest hater and sponsor at the same time, okay? Do know that the fact is that the water sources weren't ever questioned. See, while they're doing one thing in one side, they're not really telling you what's going on at the other side. So you're looking this way saying, oh my God, it's the homogenized, it's Monsanto taking over all the seed crops and cropping, seeding their wheat with their own genetically homogenized seeds. Oh, it's this, the pesticides. But meanwhile, nobody talked about the water sources that they were using. Now, some of you remember, because I remember I had my farm, big up to the farmers. I was in Pennsylvania. I remember I was doing, I collected my own water. I did, rain barrels. So what I would do for part of where I had my crops, I would use self-feeding rain barrels to save water. And at the time, I think this was like 2007 or 8, we first were hearing that the governments were starting to demonize and weaponize. Oh, no, no, no. Starting to find people who had started to use rain barrels, like people who were rain saving, like using rainwater and filtering it out to use it for their, for their crops. And at the time, I think it was Dr. Um, um, Dr. Africa. Was it Dr. Africa? May have been Dr. Ali Africa. I'm not sure if it was, I don't know if it was Dr. Ali Africa or another person from like CCNY. Many of you know I went to university in New York. So there was one other person who spoke about the fact that the reason why they started to make sure that that they were starting to find people who were saving their own water was because they wanted you to use their water sources so that it would leach into your food and any fresh, especially if you're growing your own food, and go into your gardens. So I think it was Layla Africa. I think it was at the time. They were really starting to get on people because they couldn't weaponize the water if you were using your own water sources and filtering it out, like collecting your own water from, and also we had a well at the time. So well water and also rainwater were things that they couldn't really control. They wanted everyone to use the same water sources that they can use a form of, poisoning, this is my opinion, poisoning, so that you would all be getting the same source of water going to your gardens, okay? Now, why does this matter? As we go forward in time, there was a study done in Canada that literally kind of caught wind to a couple of the farmers, I think in the Midwest. I think it was Arkansas. I think Arkansas was one. I think it was Wichita or Kansas, the other two. There were a couple Midwest farmers who got wind that water that was coming from pipe systems that were coming from the city water that could have been contaminated, not so much with just like forms of like, biological pathogens that were, something pathogen wise, like, bacteria, whatever the case is, that they were being tainted by radiation. So there was a group